Hello and welcome to the Manifest to Live Life Golden Show. This is episode 78, and I have a super special guest that I'm really excited about. She is CEO and owner of the Rusty Wood Company. Welcome, Jade Michael, to my show.
Hello.
She is also my oldest child. So she is the first person who made me a mother. And I haven't had Jade on the show, or have I? No, I haven't had you on
No.
my show yet. So this has been a long time coming. She's been busy working. So we needed to get her out of her life sucking job so that she could be on the show with me during the day.
That's the whole reason.
Right? So welcome, Jade. I have some questions. So Jade is actually a carpentress, and if you've never heard of that, it's an actual woman who does building, who builds, who actually right now you're building furniture, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about kind of how you got started in this field because it's a very predominantly male field, and how along the way you've literally followed your dreams and done some really hard things to get yourself where you are today. So how did you get interested in the field of carpentry?
I think that it was kind of a seed planted maybe when I was younger and I didn't even realize it. Like back when Kaylee and I were younger and we would fight, one of us would go to work with dad for the day just to like be separated. And I don't think that there was like a big moment where I was like, this is what I want to do. Um, but I tried college, didn't really like that. Tried to find a job. I was just waitressing, and then dad needed help, and I just kind of fell into it and never stopped.
Literally. I know. I remember when you were like 19 or like 18 and a half, 19, and you're just kind of like hanging out at the house. And I told your dad, I'm like, you need to get her out of here, which we've dealt with on several occasions with several different children at that age. It's a really interesting age when you're trying to find yourself and figure out who you want to be. And, we expect kids to just start college and know what they want to be for the rest of their lives. And it's just so ridiculous
I mean,
because
they're still children, really.
totally, totally. And when you send them off to college, it's like there's the partying and all the other aspects of that.
Yeah.
And really focusing on, a drive, something that drives you is, I think, challenging to ask of a kid that age. Not that college isn't a great idea, because I think for some kids it is, it gives them direction.
Yeah.
But for you, when you started, I remember dad giving you a carpentry book and telling you to study it. And the interesting thing about that is he's given that book to several people, and you may have been the only one who actually studied it. Am I right?
Maybe.
I mean, I remember you taking notes and trying to figure things out. And I mean, in the beginning, you were just cleaning up, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it kind of started in high school. I worked for Lenny. And I was kind of I was the dumpster girl, really. I remember just organizing the dumpster
I've
forever.
done that job. It's not perfect.
It's kind of dangerous, actually.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it like got me excited about learning something. Something was put in front of me, a book was put in front of me that wasn't a college book with all this mumbo jumbo BS that I didn't really want to learn. It was something that you could use practically and apply it to lots of different situations in your life, be it work or your own home or other people's homes. So I think that really got me excited about building things.
Building things. And you've always had like a very strong math brain. Like that's always been, and I really feel like in that field, you have to be strong in, figuring things out and angles and
Right.
that sort of a thing.
And I think my two favorite subjects in school were math and art.
Yep.
So it's like I kind of get like the best of both worlds
Yeah.
with this career.
You're marrying them together.
Right, right.
Yeah. So was there a moment where you were like, wow, I could really build stuff and I really want to, continue this? Or was it more of just like you were swept up in it because you were making money and it was a field you could, I feel like recently you've really stepped into your own with it.
Yeah, I think for a long time it was more this is a way for me to make money and it's somewhat enjoyable. and there's room for growth. I mean, I saw dad support our family doing it. It was better than waitressing, just kind of felt like, no offense to waitresses, but for me, it felt like kind of dead end and the hours were crappy. So this felt more of a sustainable option for my
Right.
future.
Right. So, so I've seen you a couple of times do some crazy things. So, quite a few years ago, you actually moved out here to California and kind of followed your parents. I don't know if that was ever your dream, but it kind of made sense for a little while for you to come out here and see if it was for you. So and then you were, working for dad for a while, and then your I guess fiance, I don't even know, was your boyfriend at the time. I guess he wasn't even your fiance yet. He moved out here as well, and you guys were working for dad. So in that working for dad and working with your husband, would you say there were times when you felt frustrated and felt like you wanted to know more or wanted to learn more, or were you just in the process?
I think I was just content where I was.
Yeah.
I didn't have like huge pressure of responsibility. Somebody told me what to do. I was making good money, and I
Yeah.
was happy with that.
Yeah. The safety and security of that is great, right?
Yeah.
And then after a few years, you decided you didn't want to live here anymore, which is probably one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life. But we'll
Right.
just share that on the show. Actually, I think a lot of people know that about me.
Yeah.
Um, but when that idea formulated and you thought, I want to go back to Connecticut and I don't want to live in California anymore, what was the thinking behind that, as far as like how you were going to support yourself and how you were going to transition from working for your dad to potentially working for somebody else? And that kind of changed everything. So, was that a big scary factor in the uncertainty piece of not working for your dad and having that security anymore?
No, because when you guys moved, I had to go find other people to work for. And at first it was dicey. And then I found Casey. Um, and it just worked out. And we were kind of almost going back to the same situation we had left.
Right.
Working, we were going to work for the same guy. I was going to be kind of taking on more responsibility. But after being in the field for so long, watching dad, watching Casey, I felt pretty confident that I could do that, even though I had never done that.
Had never done it before. Yeah, this was a huge up level for you. I
Dude,
mean, I've definitely talked to you many times when you're in situations with men who, and that's one of the things I really want to touch on is you're in this predominantly male field. And here you are, I don't know if people know, but she's like 5'4", which
great. Oh wait, no, I shouldn't be fighting for shorter.
she's fighting for her limitations. I thought you were 5'4". Are you really 5'3"? She's just a little thing, a little
Three and a half.
powerhouse.
Three and a
Yeah.
half.
So, like, for you to kind of get on a job site and be in charge and deal with men who have been in the industry for a long time and have these egos and things like that, what kind of transition was that for you?
I will give the guys that I have worked with in the past couple of years a lot of credit. They made it pretty easy for me.
Mm,
Most of them, there have obviously been some exceptions, but most of them accepted me. They saw how I worked and they were like, oh, she knows what she's doing. Like, no problem. But then there would be guys that would come along that didn't really know me, and thought it was a joke that I was in charge. And dealing with that was definitely a struggle.
yeah, yeah. So, would you say like confidence is connected to your knowledge in the field and like what you actually know?
Yeah, I think that that's helpful. I think it's also, I remember having a session with Jude,
Yeah.
and I was having issues at work with confidence. Maybe it was when we were moving to Connecticut. I can't totally remember. But she told me when I drove into the lumberyard, feel like a sense of power coming,
Mm,
because I am powerful. I drive a truck. I can lift wood. Like, I know things. Like, I'm not just like a little girl, even
yeah.
though that's what I look like. That's what they might think. But I think that just having the confidence in yourself, knowing helps them figure it out, you know?
Right, to reflect that to you. That was so powerful what you just said, because it doesn't matter what people think about you. It only matters about how you feel, because they're going to reflect how you feel. So they
Right.
can have a snap judgment and look at you and say, "Look at this little girl." And if you don't, drive into that, if you don't actually tune into that frequency and feel less than, instead you walk in there like all powerful and confident, they're going to then reflect that to you. And then it just becomes this up level in your experience where people are really seeing you for who you really are.
Right.
Yeah. But if you didn't have the knowledge behind it, I think it would be hard to feel powerful. And I think that's where people have a little misconception about confidence. They're like, well, I'm not confident. It's like, well, go empower yourself, go get the knowledge, go get the wisdom, go get what you need to show up in your industry or whatever you're doing in life to say, yes, I am able to do this. I have done it before. And, you know, listen
Because
to me.
if you don't know how to do something, how can you be confident about knowing how to do it?
You can't. You
Right.
can't. That's why knowledge is so powerful. I did a show yesterday on fear, and I was talking about getting in the ocean. And I shared with my listeners and with you actually how much trouble I was having getting in the ocean with these 6 foot waves. I actually had a little download after that about fear. And it was basically like, I wasn't ready to do that. These 6 foot waves, if you're feeling a lot of fear to the point where it like keeps you from getting in, you still have some processing to do.
Right.
And you still have more information that you need to take in to feel the confidence to get in there. So, whatever it is that's calling you to feeling low self confidence or feeling fear, that's an invitation, right? Like, that's an invitation to learn more, to become more, to, you
Dive
know,
deeper.
yeah, yeah, and believe in yourself more, because we all have the ability to learn this stuff. Like, and some of us, I think with you, I definitely think that you have gifts and talents to build like your father does. And I feel like there are people that, that have that. But then there's people that have, gifts and talents to write a book, or gifts and talents to paint something. Or so there's all these different availabilities to us. And when something really lights you up and makes you feel passion, that's an indication of what your gifts are and what to follow.
Right.
So, let me see. So, what are some of the things you went through when you were decide? So recently, so we've had a change recently where you decided, and this was a couple of month process. It wasn't very long.
No.
You were deciding that you wanted to kind of go out on your own. You wanted to start building furniture. You wanted to start doing something that was more in alignment with your happiness and joy, because going to jobs and driving long distances and all of that wasn't really feeding your soul. So in that process, what were some of the things that happened that actually made you say, I'm going to do this and it's a good idea? Like, what were some of your manifestations with that?
Well, I think it kind of started with finding the barn that we took down. I I think it was about a year ago, maybe even longer than a year ago. I'd posted on the Nextdoor app looking for old barnwood furniture, and I got a reply from a woman who said her sister had a barn she needed to take down, blah 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 blah. We exchanged phone numbers and I never heard from the lady.
Mhm.
And then a couple months later, she texted me like totally random out of the blue. We went and looked at it, and immediately Casey was like, let's do it. There was no hesitation, no debate. Like, he was full
Hell
force
yeah.
into it.
Hell yes, right?
So I think that um, having support like that is really, really important.
Well,
In
it's also confirmation from the universe. It's like you didn't have to go back and forth with it. It was like, here you have, a husband and a partner who's going to support it and says hell yes about it. What
right,
are you
no
going to
resistance,
question? Yeah,
no resistance.
yeah, that's great. So what were some of the things, like what were some of the other manifestations that happened that continually reminded you that this might be a good idea?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I mean, it all kind of happened fast. I remember being in a job. I was doing a bathroom, and it was in a basement. and it had no windows. And it was literally making me feel insane. Like I was by myself. There was no windows. I was tiling like the whole bathroom in these little subway tiles. I felt like it was taking me a million years and I was miserable.
Yeah.
Like I just was so unhappy.
Yeah. And that's what we call nails in the coffin, right?
Yeah.
So
And I mean,
you don't have to quit your job and take a leap of faith. The job will just get worse.
right, right. And it just, yeah, it just was not enjoyable. So I said to Casey one morning, I said, what do I have to do to be able to not have this job anymore or
Mhm.
go full fledged into this barnwood business? Like, that's what's making me happy. Like, what is our plan? And he said, do it.
Just do it.
Do it. I'm like, what? Like now?
Do I have to finish the tile first?
Yeah, yeah. I did finish the tile.
Yeah, so it's great. It's really awesome to have the support of a partner, but it's also, I have always felt over time with your dad that when your partner supports you and when they're saying hell yes to something, it's just confirmation from the universe that it's the right direction to go in. Because, everybody's tuned in, everybody is listening to their inner guidance. And as put it out there and say, should I do this? And you've got your, best friend right next to you saying, hell yes, you should do it. It helps. It helps to gain your confidence in doing it because it's like, well, I've got this person here who's going to support me and help me through it and help me answer the questions I need. I think that makes a big difference.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
we're all not that fortunate, so I can't speak from a position that
Yeah.
doesn't have that.
It's true. I think everybody wants it.
Yeah.
That's the thing, everybody wants that love and that support and everybody can have it. It's just a matter of, doing your own healing work and, you've always been, you've always had these relationships that were great, but not always, the support that you needed. And I think you had that desire in your previous relationship to be supported. So I think that desire is what created, your current relationship and how successful you guys have been in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what were some of your fears and how did you overcome those fears? That was my show yesterday, episode 77, overcoming fears because there were days I talked to you and you would definitely be anxious and there's so much uncertainty in doing what you just did. And even now, you're in that space between creating your own stuff and creating a flow of income. And your flow of income was really positive before. So, being in that space and having to overcome fears, what has kind of gotten you through that besides me?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have one custom client who just keeps ordering stuff, so they're really helpful.
Yeah.
With that and I'm doing some other stuff on the side, selling the stuff on Facebook Marketplace or I'll take on some smaller carpentry jobs when I feel that I need to. um, and obviously the support from Casey is huge and really just like being confident in myself and continuing to keep myself busy, keep myself doing things like listing them on the internet or applying for festivals and just like continually trying to keep that flow going because being self-motivated is really hard.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
There's some days it's raining, I just want to sit on the couch, and some days I do that,
Yeah.
but I think that just like really grinding and trusting that
Yeah.
it's gonna work out.
Yeah, you just have to keep going and keep working from your idea field. And working from home is like a whole other animal. Like a lot of people will say, "Oh, I wish I didn't have my job and I wish I could just be home all the time and work from home." I mean, a lot of people actually got that through COVID, probably the idea of that and got to experience that. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're doing your own thing, it's like it's all up to you. And when you're at home by yourself, it's you and your mind. Your mind can play games.
Yeah, it
And
can be lonely. There was a couple days in the beginning, Our dog Hank, he just went to training camp right when I quit my job.
Oh boy.
I was completely alone with the cats, who are not
Crazy.
communicable
No.
animals, really. Um, and it was lonely. I mean, I'd call Casey at 4:30, and I'm like, "Are you on your way home? Where are you? Like, why are you working late? What are you doing? How's your day?"
Yeah, it can be a little daunting, and I think the trick with that is, is staying in enough action so that you don't get yourself in a lower state, because the action, and I've seen you do this a couple times, you're like, "Okay, I posted on here and I posted on here and I'm looking into this," and it's like, just taking yourself out of that doubt by putting yourself into action and helping. I mean, we're a doer. We got to do all the time. If we're not doing and we're just being, we feel like we're missing out on something. So I think that's a really good key for people who are entrepreneurs or anyone who wants to go out on their own is you have to stay in action and you have to keep formulating new ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because if you
I think
don't, then you start to get down and then you start to get scared and then you're in a low frequency.
100%. And what's been helping me lately is making a list. Like, I'll
Mhm.
make a to-do list. Like, these are things I need to do, and that really helps to keep me on track. Because if they're
Yeah.
just in my head, then it's like
Same.
nothing happens.
It's so true, and then you just keep thinking about them and thinking about them. So
Right.
that's a really
Thinking about how you're not doing them and you should be doing them. And
yep,
yeah,
def
it's definitely, it can be a struggle.
yeah. No, I mean, working on our own is, definitely it's a different animal altogether, and I think for me too, a lot of times I gotta get out of the house because staying in the house all the time and just being in your own field I just go to the coffee shop, like, just to get out of the house and feel like you're part of society is a big thing. And you're lucky too because you do have clients and you do meet with people and you do have some bidding job things going on. So it's not like you're so home all the time. That can
Right.
be yeah, that's great. So do you have some advice for people who are thinking about doing something, maybe taking their industry into something different, or they're just really thinking about doing something, but they still need that paycheck. Like I think that's the tough part is like going from the safety and security of your paycheck to, okay, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do this other thing. Taking that huge leap of faith sometimes isn't always a good idea, especially if you don't have that support from your partner to
Right.
just like leap in faith and say, I'm going to do this. And I've seen a lot of people do that, especially in the coaching industry. They're like, well, I'm just going to go and be a full time coach. And it's like, do you know what it takes to do that? It's like,
Right.
it's a constant grind. And then you're not living in joy, anyways, right?
Right.
What advice would you give to somebody who is coming from, let's just take following your dreams, not even quitting your job, but moving to different places or just doing something to follow your dreams? Like, what are some of the things that you've done to step into that, like to take those incremental steps?
I think I remember one of the first things I did when this was a talk of me leaving my very good income and going to almost maybe sometimes nothing
Yes.
was I wrote down a list of my bills every month, which is a huge eye opener because
Yes.
you're like, where does all my money
Yes.
go? So that step right there might even make you realize like you don't actually need that much money
Right.
to pay your bills or get by or whatever. And then I think that recognizing that your happiness is worth way more than your paycheck might be.
Yeah.
So I went from I had a hard time. I thought about doing this for a long time, but I love spending money. I love
Same.
getting my hair done. I love buying new shoes. I love pimping out my truck, like buying shit for my dog, like buying vintage clothes for like $75 for a t-shirt. Loved it. Like that was my thing, and I didn't think I could let that go.
Mm.
So I think that kind of realizing that you don't need stuff
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you got to pay your bills and all that, but your bills probably aren't as much as you think they are.
Well, and I wonder how much of that too, that spending money. I mean, I love to spend money and I love feeling abundant, but I wonder too how much of that spending is like because you're trying to make yourself feel better because because you are in this situation where you're not happy every day. So that, I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely know people with shopping addictions and
Right.
have definitely suffered from that myself, but it's like trying to fill that hole, right? Of I'm not happy with my life, so I need to buy things to feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that people actually go through and don't realize that they're nickel and diming themselves and spending all the money that they make, right?
Right.
So that's interesting. That's very eye opening. I wonder how many people actually sit down and figure that out because there's definitely, I believe in flow, but I also believe there's a lot of ways that we can kid ourselves into spending more money than we make and living from this addictive personality because we're not living joy. We're not really living and that joy that you're talking about, that happiness that you're talking about, waking up every day and kind of having a little bit of say of what you're doing and having that control, that is currency. And that's something that's really important to understand is when we tune ourselves into higher frequencies, like I have no doubt that you're going to be so successful in this because it's part of you up leveling in faith and trust and honing your skills to something you're really interested in and setting a bar for yourself and for other women in the industry of creating and crafting. And because of that, when you tune into those higher frequencies and you wake up every day and you feel good, that's where abundance is. It's not in
Right.
the life sucking job and the spending money constantly.
And I thought that it was. I thought that making really good money was it.
I mean, that's our society, right?
Like this is the top. I made it. I'm in charge of people. I get a good paycheck every week. I don't have to worry about bills. But it wasn't like that wasn't meeting the needs.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, meeting what like that internal guidance and that internal call, right?
And you feel like, well, this is it. Like this is my life. I'm 30 years old now. Like this is my job and this is what I do. But
Right.
I mean, you can change that really at any time.
You really could, but people are afraid. And there's that fear again, that fear that just keeps us the same all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
And I
what
think
advice? Yep. But
the the fear of doing it yourself, like for so long, somebody else wrote me a paycheck.
yeah.
I went to work, I didn't have to worry about it. What if
Yep.
I can't create enough work to do it by myself? Like by myself is a big thing.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, and I feel like you're still discovering that. Like you're definitely still in the discovery path of that.
Yeah, for sure.
What advice would you give to people that are contemplating a change or, maybe they are taking care of a family and, they've got their paycheck and they feel a little bit in bondage. Like what are some of the beginning things that people can do to start initializing something different?
I mean, I think like maybe just setting a couple hours a month to that thing that you want to do. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to full fledge yourself. Like I thought about it. I think I might I sold a couple pieces of furniture before I quit
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And it was like I felt like I needed to spend free time to make this thing happen all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think that it needs to be all the time. Maybe it'll take you a year. If you have a family to support, that's a lot. Like
Yeah.
I'm extremely fortunate that it's pretty much me and the animals that I have to support, and Casey kind of takes care of everything else. But just setting aside a little bit of time or visualizing what that's going to look like. I constantly visualized for probably a year what my
Really.
life could look like if I had a shop with all the tools that I need, or a warehouse full of barn wood, or an excavator to take the barn down so I don't have to freaking carry it. And then all of a sudden one day Casey's like, do it.
yeah.
So I think all of that prep time
Yeah.
really led up to diving into it quickly.
That's great because I think a lot of people stay in the wishing and hoping phase and they don't do a lot of activation of the energy. Like visualization is super important, yes, but it's not the be all end all. You know, it's like you've got to put in that physical
Yeah.
activation and start doing something to say like, "Oh, is there a need for this?" You know, and I think your question to that was answered and confirmed by the people that have hired you already to say, yeah, there is a need for this. There are people out there that want to spend, a healthy amount of money on a custom piece of furniture. And, as this unfolds more and more, I can't wait to see what happens because I feel like there's so much more, but you didn't just go, I'm quitting my job and the next day quit your job. It was like there's an activation process that needs to happen that helps to build your confidence and shows you like where the energy's going.
Right.
It's like if you decided that you wanted to do this and nothing happened, like if you hadn't bought that barn, if that barn hadn't been given to you, I feel like you may still be working in your job because that was a confirmation of movement forward,
Absolutely. And
right?
that did cost us money. Like we we did get the customer to pay for the dumpsters, but it was 3 or 4 weekends of our own time.
Yep.
We hired kids that we had to pay. I mean, we had to bring it all home, day nail it. There was a lot of investment, time and money before I could do this. It
Yeah.
wasn't like it happened overnight because I had a thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really good indication if you want to become an entrepreneur because there is a lot of time that you spend doing stuff that you don't really see any compensation for a while. And there's a building process. You have to build on the energy in order to start getting the flow of income behind it.
And you make it fun. Like
Yeah.
we had, so many nights in our basement over the winter denailing all the wood, and we would drink.
Yeah.
And it would be like the best Friday night ever. We'd get
Right.
delivery, takeout, and eat like crap. And we made it fun.
Listen to good music, have
Yeah,
a party, have a denailing party.
exactly.
I love that.
So I
Yeah.
think like getting away from the desperate energy of wanting this to happen so badly, but also being okay with where it's at right now. Like
Yeah.
we're doing things, it's moving, maybe slowly, but you never know when it's going to be.
Yeah. When it's going to pop.
Yeah.
And just asking yourself continually, and I think you're doing this now, like when you get up every day, it's kind of like, what can I do today to move this dream forward and to do what I say I want to do and to be who I say I want to be? So that, to me, identity creation, that's what it is. It's not getting up every day and going, oh God, I don't know what's going to happen today and I'm scared. It's like, what can I do to get myself out of that doubt every single day? And it is an every single day process sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So what are some of the what's some of the advice that you have for people that are looking to just create something new in their lives? Just like let's say we've got women out there that are interested in doing what you're doing or building. I know a lot of women that are like, I wish I knew how to do that. Or, I'm really good at decorating, but I can't hang a picture to save my life. So, like, what are some of the things that you would suggest if somebody is interested in, this male dominated industry in just kind of getting their feet wet and seeing kind of where that goes or if that's really something they want to do?
I think something that was really helpful for me is YouTube.
Yeah.
You
Hello.
teach yourself anything. There's videos on everything. I mean, that's how Casey
Everything.
learned to work on cars. He can do
Yeah.
everything. YouTube.
Yep.
Um, Start by just buying yourself a couple cheap tools. Don't have to get the nice ones,
Yep.
just cheap ones, just to get yourself kind of used to it. Um, and then asking questions. I think that that's a huge part of not being scared to ask questions. Like, it's okay if you don't know how to do something.
Yeah.
Ask. I
Yeah.
mean, when I was in the field, still up until the last day I was there, I called Casey a million times a day. And I think a lot of that was confidence in myself.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
that's one other thing that we talked about before we were on the show was that you one of the things that you do to kind of reassure yourself is you do reach out to people in the industry like your dad or your husband,
Yeah.
and you're lucky that you have that support team. But to find people like that, there was some guy that I used to listen to all the time, and he always said success leaves clues. Like if you know somebody who's successful doing what you want to do, ask them questions, spend time with them,
Yeah.
model what they're doing, right? Because that's identity creation, is figuring out what they're doing if you want to be that as well.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a great idea. What are some of the things that you do to keep your vibe high?
Let's see. I always put on a good playlist. Music is huge for me.
Yes.
Um,
I think people don't realize that enough. Like, if you've got a crappy thing to do and you don't really want to do it, just put some music on. Like,
yeah,
seriously. I do that when I cook, and it's not that I hate cooking. I hate the idea of cooking sometimes.
yeah,
But if I put on good music and I'm in the kitchen, I'm like instantly vibration raise.
changes everything.
Yep. Yep. So good music. What do you listen to?
I've been really into the James Taylor radio.
Nice. I'll
Sometimes
take that.
it's a little slow sometimes.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree with that. Jade's first concert when she was 5 was actually a James Taylor concert. It was a folk festival in Newport, Rhode Island, and it was the best day of her life, she
that
told.
saved my life. Maybe it's up to that point.
I love me some JT. I love JT.
Yes. Came
Yeah.
out of the grocery store again yesterday.
What?
Yeah.
He did?
It came on the
Came
radio.
on. I thought you meant what he did, because he actually lives in Connecticut. So I've actually met him before. He's amazing.
Yeah, no, not. I didn't see him.
But yeah, you could bump into him. The potential is there, especially if you're tuning into his radio station
Yeah,
all the time.
maybe sell him some furniture.
Yeah, those are, oh, there you go. See, there's some dreams. Yeah, I love James Taylor. He's definitely like a fall vibe for me. I get the fall vibes when I listen to him.
Yes,
Probably
yes.
from like pumpkin picking and
Right,
those
right.
sort of things. Yeah. Good one.
Another thing that has been actually really helpful for my mood. I just did this last week. It's something really simple, but I had the cover of the Litchfield magazine, and it was a picture of a living room, and I printed a picture of my coffee table that I built, and I put it on there,
Oh man.
and it's hanging on my whiteboard in the kitchen, so I see it constantly. It always makes me feel better.
Holy crap. That is actually really smart.
It's
Talk
really
about
simple.
organizing and dream board, right?
Yeah, and it was just like I thought about it, and then I was like, oh, I could just print a picture and put it on there, and like it
Well,
just makes me feel good.
and here's another idea of reaching out to the Litchfield magazine and seeing if they want to do an article on you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So see, like there's all these ideas. Like somebody hit me up recently and asked what I thought about them becoming a general contractor. And this was actually somebody who we had who's like a surf instructor, meditation teacher. And he recently moved and he was thinking about changing industries. And I just said to him, he goes, oh, what does your husband do? I said, oh, he's a remodeling contractor. And he said, so how's that going for him? I'm thinking about doing it. And I was like, have you ever worked in the field? And he was like, no. And I was just like, I don't know about that. Like, I said, why don't you take what your gifts and talents are so far and
Right.
think outside the box? Like, what else can I make of this? It's like, you're doing all this work and you're doing remodeling construction for people. And you look at that and go, what do I really love about this? I love building beautiful things.
Right.
And that's where the furniture thing gets born. So if you've got something that you're doing that you're good at, thinking outside the box is a really great idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And that's what's going to move you forward too, is not getting stuck in these cycles of what am I doing now? For
I
sure.
don't think that I had this idea for like years and years and years. Like, I mean, I haven't even built furniture for that long. Um,
Right.
and I also think that blocking out the haters is a big thing.
Yeah.
I had quit my job. I took on one more project before I left, and I was talking to the cabinet maker about it, and he was like, "Oh, furniture is a really hard business,"
Yes.
and I'm like, "Who the fuck are you to tell me that? Like,
Exactly.
do you know who I am?"
Well, and people love to do that, you know?
Yeah.
When we were moving to California, I can't tell you how many people told us that was a really bad idea. And, and people of the East Coast have a very specific thought about what the West Coast is like and a thought about what California people are like. And they couldn't be more wrong. Like what we tuned into and the people that we're friends with and the people that have surrounded us, it has been nothing but like a good thing. Oh, I mean, of course there's, crappy people everywhere.
Everywhere. And California is like
Yeah,
this
it's so
big.
big. It's like a country in itself, really.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, when you give people your ideas, you're always going to want to tell you why it's a bad idea and what their experience was what with it.
Right. Right.
And
And I think that that's where this guy was coming from.
yeah,
Was it was hard for him. Now he has this cabinet shop and whatever, he's successful, but I think it was hard for him for a long time. And I think that me being in this industry is a plus. Just because I'm a girl makes it cooler.
it does. It's so true.
It does. If my husband built that table, it'd be like, "Oh wow, good job, you made a table." But I
It's
built it, and they're like, "You built it."
Yes, that's so true. It's like an extra element of it. But in that respect of like it was hard for this guy and you doing what you feel called to do, I think it's so interesting how things like that, what he said to you will either deter you, right? Because it's your fear, like he's
Right.
either reflecting a fear, or it will make you more determined.
Right.
And I like that it made you more determined. And
Yeah.
that's what would happen to us. Like anytime people put down what we were doing, or, when we got here and this real estate agent was like, you're not going to be able to afford a nice place. You're going to have to live in the ghetto. And I was like, does he know who we are? Like, does he know how we create? And that's the thing. We're all manifestors and we all have the potential to manifest beyond other people's limitations and the limitations that have been set because of their failures.
Right.
Right? Like this guy could have made it big in furniture if he had kept going. But the
Right.
thing is, when times get tough, when the economy goes down, whatever, people listen to the news, they tune into the low frequencies, and then they go, I can't do this anymore. And if you just kept going, you don't really know what would happen. But he found his way anyways. So, you
Yeah.
know, it's good. It's good if you can have things like that make you more determined instead of throw you off the path. Like, oh, this person said it won't work. Who the hell are they?
Who the hell are they? I had somebody last week literally laugh at me when I told them I was doing this whole.
Really?
Yeah, he's been trying to get me to become a building inspector for a bazillion.
Uh, Safe, secure job,
Yeah,
paycheck, steady paycheck.
benefits, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, and we're not putting down the steady paycheck or the job. Those things are wonderful and great. It's just when you get in a position of not feeling your life force, when you're feeling bored, when you're feeling mundane, there's something more for you.
There's options. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be that way.
absolutely, without a doubt. All right. Well, so what's next for Jade Michael? We're going to share. I'm going to actually share in the show notes your website because you have some cool stuff for sale. You do
Great.
custom,
Hmm.
and do you ship like around the country? Because I know that's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be shipping some bar stools to Nevada in a couple weeks,
Very
um,
cool.
which is really cool.
That's amazing.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I'm installing some mantles next week. I have a festival. I'm doing a festival at the end of the month, which is
Yeah. So
cool.
what festival are you doing? Just in case there's people in Connecticut.
The Litchfield Arts Festival. It's on the green of the First Congregational Church. I think it's right in there in like the downtown Litchfield area.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll be there and
Yeah, and so people can check your website. They can hit you up and get some custom pieces made if they're looking to have something made.
yep.
Um, so what's next for you? You just following the energy field or what?
Yeah, I mean, every week is kind of different. I have a little bit of a schedule going right now. I'm starting to get busy, so that's great. I think at some point in the nearish future, we're going to be looking for another barn.
Ooh,
So we're probably willing to travel, like keep it in New England area.
yep.
Um, But yeah, I'm gonna be needing some wood soon.
Some more wood. That's pretty cool. So if anybody has any connections, they can hit us up. So I'll put your website down below and how to get in touch with you if somebody's interested in a custom piece. Or do you have an Etsy shop, or is that just through your website? No, you just do it through your website.
I kind of
Yeah.
do, but it was a little aggravating. So I just have things listed in the shop area of my website.
I think that's a good idea because then you keep all the money, right?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
advertise for myself and
And how did you come upon a website? How did you get a website?
uh
Oh, you froze. Where'd you go? Come on, we were almost there. Let's make sure. It
what
says we're
happened?
streaming. So just pause for a second. We've got a little interruption in our Wi-Fi, which is always fun. And I'm guessing it's yours because I'm still talking. All right. Let's see. Oh, here we go. We're loading the video. Wow, this has never happened before. Yeah, Jade actually has paused on her video. So let's just see if she comes back. Maybe she refreshed it. Just calling on our non physical support team to help us with computer issues. But I will share while I'm waiting for her to reload again, that she did build her own website. So that's pretty cool. Like being, a carpenteress and working on furniture and doing her thing. She could have had some blocks in the website thing, and she really overcame a lot of things and creating a website. And I've shared that before. If you're looking to activate some energy, building a website on what you want to create is a good way to just activate the energy. So I'm going to close out the show because it looks like she's not able to get back on, but it was such a thrill to have her on today. I absolutely loved it. And you will be hearing more from her because she's got a lot of wonderful things going on. And I'm her mom and I can have her on whenever I want. All right. Peace out.